So, John, what were you up to in 2001?
2001? Well, I was 15, so wanking mostly.
Oh.
Some films are fine just the way they are. Other films sometimes take it way too far. But really, how bad could it get? Let's go beyond the box set.
Welcome, everybody, to Beyond the Box Set, a podcast where we pitch prequels, sequels, and spin-offs to films that don't have any. I'm Harry, and joining me as always is John.
Hello.
And it's a pretty special episode for us today, John.
We've gone up in the world.
Yeah.
We're currently sitting in BBC Radio Yorkshire studios, and we are joined by Larry and Paul from The Larry and Paul Show.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure, and you've upgraded the BBC Radio Leeds studios to BBC Radio Yorkshire as well.
Yeah, that's what about that.
which is good, because we put that on our emails to make ourselves look more important.
It says BBC Yorkshire outside, doesn't it? I think that's what confused me.
It's because it's a bi-media site, John. We've got the TV is here, you see, so that always makes us feel more special in Leeds than we actually are.
Sure, absolutely.
In fact,
Probably a bone of contention for our colleagues in Hull and York, and
they were just a grubby little radio station at the heart of it.
but no, we're an excellent radio station.
Excellent radio
Radio station that we're going to be on this Saturday, I believe.
Yeah,
the day after this goes out, so the Saturday we'll be on BBC Radio Leeds on the afternoon show.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
To flog the podcast and promote this episode.
And bring cake.
We'll bring cake, yes. As is the tradition, I believe.
Yeah.
So as is the tradition as well, we ask our guests to bring a film. So what film have you chosen for us today?
Well, you wanted a film without a sequel.
Yes.
So just to confirm, without a sequel.
Yes.
What,
Yeah.
without.
With no sequel.
So
Yeah.
we were having a lovely wander through Leeds Kirkgate Market, weren't we? Saying, what should we go for?
Yeah, one that doesn't have a sequel.
Doesn't have a
And
sequel.
we narrowed it down to two.
We thought Goodfellas or 2001: Space Odyssey. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Larry and Paul, 2001: Space Odyssey had a sequel. It was called 2010: First Contact, or The Year We Made Contact, or something. But the problem is, going back in the chronology now, I didn't know that until you put that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I didn't know that when you called me up and said, "Oh, we're going to do 2001: Space Odyssey," and I said,
Yeah.
"Great, let's go for it."
And then what I tried to do last night was go, oh, hang on, well, we'll do something else then.
Yeah.
But then I thought, no, do you know what? 2010 was rubbish. The year and the film. So let's pretend it never happened.
I've never seen it. I don't think many people have seen it. It's not directed by Stanley Kubrick.
No, it's got Helen Mirren in, though.
It does.
Interesting.
I vaguely remember having a conversation with my brother where he said 2010, the year we first made contact, was a brilliant film, and didn't put two and two together, or indeed 2010 and 2001 together, to make, that's a sequel to the first one.
Well, surely it would be called 2002. Wouldn't it? The year
trick
after
there, yeah.
all that stuff happened.
What happened next?
Yeah, or no, 2002. What happened after all that stuff happened?
Yeah, that's catchy.
Rolls
Yeah.
off the tongue, yeah.
It's just Tom Hanks should make this.
Definitely. But yes, so we are choosing to, we acknowledge it, but we are overlooking it because it's our show and we can do whatever the hell we like. So
Yes, so shut up,
deal with
nerds.
it. Yeah. So why did you choose 2001: Space Odyssey aside from to mess with our whole system?
Well, Paul had watched it recently, and
Always a good start. Yeah.
and I thought, oh yeah, I remember quite liking it, but I haven't seen it for a long time. So if I start making references to stuff that isn't in the film, then you'll know why. I'm
I'll
like,
stop you.
you know the bit where they water the back of the furry thing after midnight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, so one of us will jump in and just go, no, that's a Godfather Part 2.
exactly, yeah, a classic scene in The Godfather.
So when did you last watch it?
I think it must have been 10 years ago.
Whoa.
dear.
And it was when Paul and I were both into films, but we hadn't started the film podcast we were doing at the time that later abandoned. So well done to sticking to yours, because it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I was watching a load of films in the afternoon. So I was working sort of breakfast shifts, and I'd go home at lunchtime and have a 7-minute nap, and then I would watch a film. And I got into them in the way that, can I swear on this?
Yes.
In the way that arseholes get into films, right? So I started watching like Polish B movies or whatever.
What is that arsehole fodder?
What?
Now, you say
Me?
Polish B movies or Polish adult movies?
Polish arsehole movies. Yeah. But you know, I thought I was clever because the DVD I was putting into a machine what happened to be a Polish film that nobody in this country had ever watched, which is just an arsehole thing to think. That's where the arsehole thing comes from.
Right, so-
I thought I was clever. And so I started watching loads of films that I thought would make me sound clever in conversations about films, such as 2001 A Space Odyssey, which is a classic. I will sound clever if I know something about this film in a conversation about movies, right? Because nobody really enjoys it, surely.
Sure. Yes.
I was going to ask, can you tell me what the plot is?
Well, yes, right. I mean, I do remember roughly, right? So you got the monkeys. They're actually apes, and
Well done, yeah.
they sort of download by touching the alien superintelligence. That block, which to be fair, the film is so far ahead of its time. I think I'm much more into it now, remembering it back, than I was, because at the time, what did I know? I didn't know anything about AI. I'd never read or listened to anything about anything interesting, probably. So I was like, what's this rubbish? I had no idea that the monolith is supposed to represent something. Not clever enough to understand Alan Green.
It wasn't just a big domino.
It wasn't just a big domino.
Oh, I
It's
misunderstood this film completely.
So, I mean, the time frame for the film is like millions of years, right?
It's like in 3 separate acts, really.
Yes, yeah. And they've got like real highfalutin names, haven't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of them is The Dawn of Man. I think.
That's
Dawn
it,
of
the
Man,
Dawn
yeah.
of Man.
One of them is like Beyond Infinite or something. Just like,
Yeah. That sounds great.
Fuck off, Kubrick.
Yeah. You lovely man.
took the words out of my mouth, John.
And the other one's Herbie Goes Bananas.
Part 3.
Yeah, it really takes a turn at the end.
Goes to Mexico, and then they push him off a ship.
Stop.
I cried.
You've confused the film.
Sorry, I cried so much of that.
So they're in. They don't know their real mission in space, and their real mission is to go to see the monolith that's been unearthed on the moon. That's the first real mission. Then the second real mission is that they have to go to Jupiter, where the moon monolith is firing a radio signal to the monolith that's in orbit around Jupiter, and then I won't say what I was about to say because I was about to. Put in a double entendre big time, but I won't.
We encourage double entendres.
Okay, do you? Right, okay. So Dave there unfortunately gets sucked off into the monolith.
Yeah, that is what happens. Yeah.
Then he's an old man, then he's eating Summit, then he's a baby.
Cut, roll credits, end of film.
Wow, that's amazing. That's more than I remembered, and I only watched it a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, I had actually not seen this film before because I think it's one of those ones that everyone's heard of, but not many people have actually sat down and watched.
You know, there's lists of like 50 films you need to watch before you die.
Yes.
It's just always on those, isn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah.
So I've ticked it off. But I watched this under the worst circumstances. I watched this last week on a train journey from Penrith to Leeds.
All right.
So on my tiny little computer laptop, which, given this film is all about the visuals, I don't think I got the best of it, really.
It's the way Kubrick intended.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And you were in a way recreating the descent of man, weren't you? Through
Yes.
through the sort of lovely Lake District.
I think I did see a few apes on the train. Yeah. People actively devolving around me.
Yeah.
I think I've watched this in both the worst and the best ways to watch this film.
Yeah.
So the first time I watched it was 4 years ago, Leeds International Film Festival in the town hall. So I'm like, but like on an 80-foot screen in an incredible room.
Yeah.
It was just outstanding. It blew me away. And then for this episode now, I got up late this morning, dreadfully hungover, and just put it on the telly and just sort of just dozed in and out of sleep with it. And then I threw up at the end.
Perfect. You would. I was going to say, I bet the bit at the end, you were just like, I don't have time for this. I just cut it off.
What's this 20-minute sequence of light? I bet you were loving the no dialogue bits for your power napping.
It was good, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of that, but most of the time when there was no dialogue, there was either complete silence, which made me think that I'd paused it, or there were just blaring sirens.
Yeah.
Or, and alarms. There's so much of that, and they're so shrill. I don't know if they are normally, but when you're hungover,
Yeah. Well, it goes. The
Not a good time.
The
Not a good time.
soundtrack's amazing. I mean, obviously, it's fated for it, but you know, the classical music is wonderful. The Richard Strauss stuff, and then in and amongst the apes becoming human, I guess is the point of that bit. You've got that beautiful music, and then just like babies crying and women screaming, and which is how I imagine they made that bit of music when they were actually touching the monolith. Don't know if you remember this.
It's all the
like,
choir howling. No. Then it's kind of like a round. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's more like. No,
but it's got going on in the background.
Gets to that.
Yeah,
It's
but-
awful. Like, I mean, how did you watch that hungover?
I don't know. I don't know how I've made it here.
The
You
fear
watch
of the
most
risen
famous
Lord
song ever,
Jesus.
really, don't you?
Yeah.
Put the fear of the risen Lord Jesus Christ into me when I watched it, and I was perfectly sober and just like, let's watch this film.
What kind of hangover was it?
Bad one.
Was there gin involved last night?
No, just beer, but mixed
okay.
beer.
Mixed beer.
Yeah.
My favourite type of curry.
I'm sure it was mixed on the way out, so you know.
Yeah.
Well mixed.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't gin. I mean, you might have.
Yeah, well, that was last week's hangover.
Yeah, that was the Oscar. We had an Oscar party last week. We stayed up till 7 a.m. watching the Oscars.
Did
and
you?
He was on the gin all night. And I came down about 1 in the afternoon thinking, oh, he's going to be so mad at me I stayed up too late. And then he emerged 3 hours later for about half an hour, then went back to bed. So.
Do you do an Oscars all-nighter every year?
Yeah, it's become a little bit of a tradition, yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Really?
We did one, and I think we were obviously a bit overtired.
Well,
But also excited.
The only reason we wanted to do it is because we watched Milt with Sean Penn. 2010, was it the Oscars? 2010, 2009. Anyway, all we wanted to stay up for was to make sure that he got Best Actor.
Sure.
So
we made sure of that.
we made sure of that. If there was any will going through our TV up Sean Penn, then it definitely did that evening because he won. But everything else, you kind of watch the Oscars and go, oh, it's just like any award ceremony. Like if you go to like West Yorkshire legal awards, it's like that, where people come
Meryl
up and go,
Streep's nominated in every category.
yeah, come up and go, well, I just want to thank God and my masseuse and my dog.
Well, we were really
This is the
spoiled
Leeds
last
Business
year.
Awards.
Oh yeah.
We were really spoiled last year because that was obviously the year when they read out the wrong envelope with a big best pitch at the end. So
Yeah.
Or Warren
nothing could
Beatty.
really compete to this year last year. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
This
you
year
know,
felt
it's like
comparatively dull.
5:20 in the morning, and they're
Yeah.
doing like the best
Sound editing.
partial animation of a foreign language film that didn't go to screens. Or something.
The best adapted, non-adapted screenplay for a foreign language picture.
Well,
Yeah.
hence the gin. So you know,
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Gets you
drinking
through it.
games are an important way of getting through the Oscars. But,
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Space Odyssey.
Exactly.
Fabulous score. Yeah, I know what you mean. Though I wasn't hungover watching it, but I did kind of enter something of a meditative state while watching it. I think 'cause it's kind of a film that you kind of experience more than you follow in many ways because it's not terribly narrative. It's not really narratively driven.
No.
One thing I really like about it is the way it puts you in a mood. Like, so for the first, there's
grumpy
like
mood?
3. No, but it really, like, he really draws you in. So if you're watching it on the small screen, you're like, meh. But if you're watching it in Leeds Town Hall, you'd be all encompassed by it. And presumably that's the idea because he starts off, you've got the logos for the studio, MGM or something, and then black for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Or even longer. I think it's 3 minutes. You're just sitting there. And obviously, if you're there at home, have I paused this by accident or something? But I just love the way he draws you in that way. And then there's the intermission with a similar thing as well. He's pulling you into his film. I love that.
And the same after the credits as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Just longer.
Yeah.
5 days of it. And then I realised it ended.
Yeah. I mean, this does sound like a bit of a backhanded compliment, but it does, particularly the scenes on the space mission with Hal, the robot, and the 2 astronauts. It does create an authentic sense of boredom.
Yes.
I mean that as a
wow.
positive and a negative because it does get that sense of a very mundane existence and the dialogue's very mundane and there's not really a lot of drama there, but it is kind of, I guess that is what it's like. It would be like if you were on like a long-term, long-distance space mission. Like you would be just in this very kind of low-energy kind of state of mind. So
Making rubbish small talk.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is why you feel clever, I think, if you can watch it and sort of bear it and then talk about it.
Yeah.
It's because it's like your growth as a film viewer. I remember really clearly we went to see The Hurt Locker at a preview thing, and I came out of watching The Hurt Locker, which I think won Best Film that year.
It was Best Director, definitely. I'm not
Best
sure.
Director,
It won
yeah.
Best Film.
Yeah,
did
Best
it?
Film. Okay.
And I came out and I was saying to you, I said, oh, God, I mean, it was just so depressing. I mean, it was rubbish. Didn't like it. And Paul just went to me, that's the point. It's about people being blown up by
supposed to be a romp.
IEDs. Yeah. I was like, well, I thought it was a tragicom.
Where was Sandra Bullock? I just remember the sense of dread. Sorry, digressing. Hurt Locker, the sense of dread. And
Yeah.
I love films that do that, where you watch them and you go, "Oh, I see what you're trying to do. Trying to evoke something more than me watching a film, going, oh yeah, so he loves her, and then that happened. Like it
Yeah, that's The
pulls you in,
Godfather, isn't it?
and that's Godfather Part 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good evening, Dave.
How you doing, Hal?
Everything's running smoothly. And you?
Oh, not too bad.
Have you been doing some more work?
A few sketches.
May I see them?
Sure.
That's a very nice rendering, Dave. I think you've improved a great deal. Can you hold it a bit closer?
Sure.
That's Dr. Hunter, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
One of my favourite facts I've discovered about this film this week when researching it was that when it was released in 1967, I believe, or something?
68, I think.
68. So it was initially, when it came out, it started quite slowly at the box office. The reviews were quite mixed, and it initially wasn't making that much money. And they were about to pull it from cinemas, but then this is at the height of the kind of the hippie movement, and hippies and drug takers started to get wind of the third act. You know, the bit where it goes all. Now it looks like a 90s screensaver, but at the time it was really trippy. And so there would be armies. There would be armies of like hippies would just descend on the cinemas and drop loads of acid and just watch the film on that. Which, to be fair, it might be the best way to watch this film.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
Don't take drugs.
No.
Kids.
Yeah, do take.
We
drugs.
don't endorse, but
No, but if you want, go on. I think that last act would genuinely, because from a modern point of view, I'm viewing it a bit like a Philistine. Imagine if you have film scholars listening to this. I was going to call them nerds, but that's really listening to this, that I might sound like a massive Philistine. But looking back on what we know now and what blatantly Kubrick just went, what can I do with colour and light? Okay, let's do that for 45 minutes. And you look back on it now and you're just like, oh, this is going on a bit
Do you
long.
not think that had a purpose? Do you not think that was meant to do something?
Yeah.
Because you read some analysis where people have dug far too deep into it and have prescribed intention in what Kubrick was doing where it clearly wasn't there, you know. And then other people just say, oh, it's a load of rubbish. He was just making it up as he went along, which I can't imagine that's the truth either.
No.
But do you think he just went, I could do colours?
And that's exactly how that was a clip of Kubrick.
from the archives,
That was Arnie.
same person.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
he was trying to get across a feeling of like, you know, he's everything and nothing, but everything at the same time. So he literally put everything into that last bit. But as a modern viewer, unless you were probably on acid, it would be hard pressed to watch that and just go, going a bit long this bit, innit?
Yeah.
Well, again, watching it on a laptop hunched over on a train,
Yeah.
I did think, oh, is my monitor on the fritz? Like, it's just because the colour contrast is so
Is the
kind of...
screensaver started?
Yeah, it does
Yeah,
look like
yeah.
a screensaver. Like,
Monitor on the fritz. I've not heard this phrase before as well.
Let's reintroduce that into society.
That sounds like a transformer.
but I mean, as we mentioned, the film is kind of in several different parts. What was your kind of favourite of the parts of the film? What did you find the most engaging?
Well, the bit, and I have to say, I rewatched it for this because it was the bit I remembered most clearly. So there's the bit where Dave he's gone out to rescue Frank.
Yes,
and he's coming back, and it's the bit where Hal won't open the pod bay doors, or whatever. And this is the famous, I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave. All of that tension, and that whole shot to me is amazing because this is 50 years ago, right? And loads of other films have tried to do exactly the same thing since, but that's as real as it gets almost. You know, most 50-year-old films, somebody's done something since where it's better, or it's more real, or it's cleaner, or you believe more that it's actually in space or something. But that seems perfect because it's just sitting in utter silence, utter stillness, which is, of course, what it would be like. And you're terrified. It's a bit like Gravity with Sandra Bullock. It's that exact same feeling that you just put yourself there and you go, oh, what am I going to do about this? And you don't think there's a way out for him. So all that scene's amazing. Hal does sound a bit camp.
He does a little bit,
there.
yes.
Yeah, which is one of my drinking games, by the way.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah. Every time Hal sounds a bit camp,
He has the most personality of everyone in the film because all the human characters are quite, I think, deliberately mundane and you don't really get a sense of who they are. Whereas Hal, he's kind of a passive aggressive little bitch. Like,
And he's a good singer.
yeah.
great scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely singer.
Yeah, I enjoyed that bit. That was good.
Oh, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do. I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me. And I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Joy, my favourite bit would also be the space bits as well, because you have to kind of pinch yourself sometimes and go, this was made then. And it stands up to modern space films.
Yeah.
Interestingly,
Because it's so similar because they're all based off it.
because they're all based, yeah, exactly,
yeah,
they're so derivative.
You look at Passengers or something like that,
Or Moon,
which
or
Moon.
Gravity.
Well, Moon was obviously it's brilliant.
Or The Martian or anything like that. But the thing you talk about, the utter stillness in space, for me, the moment that took me out of the film like an idiot was when he crashes into the, you go, that won't happen, he'd die instantly. All that, you've done all the science stuff really well and you just messed that bit up.
Oh, you mean
Sauce
with
Kubrick.
Chekhov's exploding bolts?
Yeah.
They show so many times before, so that's clearly going to pay off at some point. Like.
Yeah. What's that called? That's called the there's a
The Chekhov's gun.
Is
Chekhov's
that
gun.
Chekhov's gun?
Chekhov's gun,
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Where if you show a
thing,
you
it has to
have
pay
to
off.
use it. Yeah.
And there was one, it's only a small throwaway scene, but one scene that I thought was going to be a Chekhov's gun, but I was very delighted that it did not actually reoccur, was the bit where there's a close-up of the instructions, the very detailed instructions for the use of a zero-gravity toilet, the concept of which filled me with horror.
I think it was just that somebody on the film crew made that, and they were like, "Come on, guys, my kid made this. Please put this in."
Yeah, little Terry spent 6 hours with this and crayons.
Yeah, I'm glad it didn't go there.
It's made out of pasta or something.
Yeah,
And Terry went on to become a huge film director.
yeah. Terry Rawlings is cinematographer.
Yeah.
But-
Who made the Tree of Life? That was a Terry, wasn't it?
Terry...
Well, Gilliam.
No, not Terry Gilliam.
Oh, sorry.
Terrence Malick. Terrence
Malick. There we go.
We got
That was it. Little Terry, influenced by Space
Became
Odyssey.
Terrence
thought,
Malick.
I'll make a film that's got 20-minute long musical sequences
God,
where
yeah.
nothing happens.
Have you seen The Tree of Life, Harry?
No, I've not.
It is dull.
It's incredibly hard work.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Can we just veto it right now, please?
Oh, I didn't have it lined up.
Good.
Which is the one that you used to go on about the Last Days of Rockstar that literally shows everything he does? Is it Lars von Trier?
Yeah, it's Lars von Trier's Elephant, the Kurt Cobain
Oh, yeah.
biopic, although it was never officially called that.
That's an exercise in mundanity. If you thought the bits in 2001: Space Odyssey were dull,
Like every shot, it might not be. I'm probably remembering it wrong, but it feels like every shot you're just behind Kurt Cobain's head as he walks through a field for an hour and a half.
but it's not Kurt Cobain.
But it's not Kurt Cobain.
It's Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain.
Harry, what was your kind of standout scene in between your naps?
I think there's a bit where he jumps ship,
Where he jumped ship.
where he jumps out of the. He jumps through the airlock.
Oh, we just mentioned the bit where
Yeah.
you're using the exploding bolts to get on.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
easily my favourite bit.
It's the most exciting bit, I suppose.
Yeah.
It is somewhat implausible, but
Apparently, it's not,
Oh, really?
according to the internet.
Really?
I love that guy.
I like the fact he has a chat with the guy from Rising Damp.
Yes,
and all
Reginald
the-
Perrin shows up. Leonard Rossiter shows up. That was
Leonard Rossiter shows up with his bevy of Russian beauties talking about chips or something.
Yes.
And like, oh, how are you? Oh, Dave, how are you? Oh, yeah, not bad. How are you? Oh, there's something secret going on in this. Oh, really? Oh, I don't know about it. Bye then. Bye. That might be my second favourite scene.
I think that was actually, I was going to mention that to be my favourite scene because all of those scenes that in that first kind of, it's kind of the second act,
The
it's
second
post
bit,
Monkeys,
yeah.
but before the Jupiter trip. So I guess there's 4 acts. But yeah, that scene with Reginald Perrin and all the girls or the women, because there's a kind of a recurring feature on this show that I do called Wig Watch.
Right.
Which is whenever I love a dodgy wig in a film.
Yeah.
And the styling on the future people, especially the women, was so interesting to me. I loved it. Like they had the multicoloured beehive kind of hairs, and all the zero gravity walking I thought was again really well shot. Actually, it looked really interesting. So when they just walk up the walls and you see them on the different planes, so
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And just to see Reginald Perrin, like, oh, it's you.
Look,
What are you doing here? I like
Leonard Rossiter. Bless him.
because there's nobody famous in this apart from that. Like nobody, I guess because the actors aren't really the point, but the lead, I don't know what else he's been in, but I don't think much.
Did
apart
they
from
do
this-
anything else, those guys?
No, they all died.
He's
I
in
was
the contract
I was
to kill off
convinced, even though I knew it wasn't, that the voice of Hal was Marlon Brando. During the film, I was like, it's not Marlon. No, it's not. I know it's not. Is it? It's not. No, it's not. Is it?
Isn't he English?
And it's not.
Hal?
No, he's kind of posh American.
Right, okay.
So he sounds a bit like Marlon Brando does. When he's Superman's dad.
Even having rewatched clips extremely recently, by which I mean within the last 60 minutes, Hal's English in my memory.
Yeah, no, it's like, I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's kind of that blandly flat
Yeah.
American kind of.
Yeah.
Another little tidbit: Sir Anthony Hopkins, for his role as Hannibal Lecter, he based the voice of Hannibal Lecter on Hal.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
I think I heard that once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you hear that, you
Hairpiece.
can't unhear it. So
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
interesting if you listen to that. He does that same really kind of flat, bland kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I've got a Kubrick-based tidbit, simply because I'm a Bond geek and I really want to crowbar it in.
sure.
How familiar are you both with the world of Bond?
Probably Harry more than me, but we've both seen a few Bonds.
Somewhat.
So the Spy Who Loved Me, which is the one which is Roger Moore's finest work, Underwater Car. Basically, the guy who was lighting, the set at the end where it's in the 2 submarines inside the super tanker. The guy,
whole submarine.
a whole submarine in a tanker. So basically, the guy who was lighting it now, whose name escapes me, I want to say it's Claude Renoir. I think it was, and Ken Adam, who I did the set, didn't know how to light this because it was so huge. It was, and they were like, I don't know how to light the set. So they secretly had to get Kubrick in on a weekend when no one knew he was there in a disguise, bring him into Pinewood Studios and just let him loose on the set. And he lit that last bit. So Kubrick has an influence in Bond.
Nice.
A little bit of film trivia for you there.
Thanks. What was Kubrick's last film?
Eyes Wide Shut, was it?
It was, unless you count AI, which was half him, half Spielberg.
Half him,
Right,
yeah.
Okay. I've never seen AI.
It's better than its reputation
Right.
suggests. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a film with some problems, but it's. I cried like a baby at the end. I thought it was very upsetting.
Has it got I See Dead People in it?
It does. It's Haley Joel Osment, who is amazing in it. Like, he genuinely is
he?
fantastic in it. Like, so
Where's he gone?
Where's he gone? What's he
he
doing?
stopped being cute like all child actors. He stopped being cute. Yeah.
Yeah. Took up the drugs.
Took up the
Oh,
poor
poor
guy. I think he's in that show Silicon Valley now. So
I think
he's
he
inching his way back in. But
Yeah.
I think he just needs to go full comedy and just make fun of himself. Like,
Yeah.
just doing
Yeah.
roles that just spoofs of his old stuff.
Yeah.
Do a bit of that.
Just Saturday Night Live, basically.
Yeah.
Have we got any more general thoughts on the films, or should we move on to some drinking games?
Drinking games.
Drinking games. Cool. So, do you have any drinking games? Harry, do you want to start?
Yeah, I got 3. So, drink whenever there is a siren or an alarm of some kind.
Yeah.
Ooh.
As I mentioned, that was the thing that really, really hurt me this morning.
See, if you're drunk through it, then, with a bit of hair of the dog, you might feel a bit better.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Do beeps count? Because my one was every time you hear a beep, you
If
have
it's
to do
like
a
if it's
shot.
like repetitive, then yeah, but that's a good one.
Right. Mine was sort of quite similar to yours every time you hear a beep, but you would be wasted. The first bit would just be like, so the first bit with the monkeys would be like, this is fine. The moment it goes on the ship, you'd be ruined. But I mean, it'd be perfect for the end because you'd just be like, because.
But you do this in real life, don't you, with beeps?
Yeah, every time I hear a beep, I do a shot.
It's like
it's like-
every time the BBC Pips play.
I do 5 in quick succession and then
Pavlovian kind
and
of
then a
thing,
pint.
Oh, you should see him behind reversing buses.
Oh. Just waterfall in it. Larry, have you got one?
Yeah, well, I mentioned my drink every time you think Hal's been a bit camp, but I had a bit of an esoteric one about any time you allow yourself to believe that Hal has feelings.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
Because it's so easy in various points. But I like this theory that the whole point of Hal was that Dave and Frank were supposed to start to think that it had gone mad, that it had become conscious and gone mad. So they would need to destroy it, so they'd get the video, to tell them what to do next. That was a theory I saw online, which I thought was quite interesting.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That it was always Hal's point. It was programmed into Hal to appear to be a machine becoming conscious and going
Really?
wrong.
So programmed to kill one of the guys. He kills Dr. Frank, doesn't he? Dr.
He does,
Paul,
yeah.
So he definitely went full method for that then. If that was
Well,
his
he did, yes.
raison
Yeah.
Kills
d'etre,
all of
then.
them.
That's
He totally
his
kills all-
acting
yeah.
training.
Indeed, yeah. Because I think, isn't it the theory that one of the main theories is that the reason Hal acts out like he's a small child, just killing people, is because he's told to be deceptive to the humans, and that causes him to kind of short circuit because it means he has to consider morals and ethics, and he becomes morally compromised, and that causes him to then, I guess, short circuit and go a bit nuts. So
break down.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But there's lots of points where you go, oh, and you should have a drink at that point.
Definitely.
It's just a machine.
And I agree, he is definitely in the grand echelon of campy robots. Right up there with C-3PO and
Oh yeah, sometimes
Wall-E,
he's super
yeah.
camp.
Talking of short circuit, Johnny Five isn't camp, is he? He's
No,
just
he-
like,
oh, he's a lad. He's a total lad. Isn't
Yeah.
he?
and especially at short circuit too when he goes all ghetto.
Yeah.
Does he go street? I'm not
Yeah, he
sure.
goes all street. He goes, and he puts like Weld's fins on himself. I don't know what he does. He goes mental.
Wall-E, on the other hand, I know he's quite taken with Eva, but spending all his time in a bedroom watching old Barbra Streisand movies, I'm not convinced.
Yeah, and also very, very good at decorating.
Yeah,
Like,
very into his
arranging
decorating,
stuff. Yeah, that's a trait.
So there's definitely a tradition there, I think.
Apparently.
So my first one is drink whenever there's a hard cut to black.
Right. Okay. My second one was going to be just drink through all the black bits.
Yeah.
Oh, my next one is drink whenever there's silence.
Yeah.
They're all basically the same, yeah.
So you've been. I mean, that would be a bit like the beeps one. Mine are all impractical. You're either constantly drinking or doing shots consistently. So yeah.
What
And
kind
that's-
of film would you not be drunk at if you drank during all of the silence?
What's a really talky director? Like
Steven Soderbergh. No.
Steven Soderbergh.
Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Sorkin.
Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah.
Constant
we got there.
noise.
I mean, presumably, if you've done an Aaron Sorkin one, it's every time there's a walkie-talkie scene.
Yes.
That's the obvious
Have
one.
we ever
right?
done
Anytime somebody talks over somebody else,
Right.
Yes.
interrupts someone, you could do stuff like
Have we
that.
ever done a Sorkin film on this podcast?
Don't think we have.
Well, we should
Haven't
do it.
you?
At some point we should.
You must.
We've not done a Tarantino yet. I don't know how.
Yeah.
Really?
famous
I
to-
know.
Most overrated director ever.
Have we done what? 2, 3? You've Kubrick's next.
This is our 2.5 because we've done AI and we've done The Shining.
Yeah.
Which I was going to mention. The
Yeah.
cuts to black really made me realise that that's a Kubrickian trait, and also the music. You mentioned the weird mix of kind of screaming and bird song and animal noises
Yeah.
that they use a lot. That's also used quite a lot in The Shining, if you remember,
Yeah.
especially in the opening scenes.
Well, I won't rewatch The Shining because I'm so scared of it
Really.
Really?
that I can't watch it.
That's the least scary. I remember watching the Poltergeist. It was not Poltergeist. The Exorcist. I think it was rubbish.
Well, The Exorcist was right. I'd read the book just to be one of those guys.
Mm.
The book, The Exorcist, is really interesting and about mental health. And then in the film, they were like, let's strip out all of that context
And make her sick
just
up
make it look
peas.
like she's got a devil inside her and sick up peas. Yeah.
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 So The Exorcist, I wasn't scared about at all. But The Shining, I watched as a kid, and I've been scared of big hotels ever since. Wide corridors, it always comes to mind.
Okay.
Twin, lift sets. at the end of-
Hexagonal carpets. I just.
yeah, boys on trikes. Terrifying.
But yeah, he's definitely one of those directors who has his little trademarks, his little stamps that
Yeah.
I noticed quite a lot of those. So yeah, that was one. What was your next one?
I said Drunk Whenever There's a Silence.
Drink for Silence.
Yeah.
Good one.
Larry?
Do I need more?
Only if you got them.
I'm very sorry. I came up with 2, and that
Oh,
was
that's
it.
fine.
I only came up with 2, which
I'm
was sort of
trying.
both like both of yours.
John?
Yeah.
Sure. So similar to your silence one, I just said, and this is very dangerous, and I do not suggest anyone try it, is to just waterfall between lines of dialogue.
Oh, man.
So you could go a solid 20 minutes of just
But
solid
the
chugging.
first line of dialogue is at
It's
25
20
minutes.
in, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that this is not a film to drink to. I think we
No.
can put
No.
some kind of stamp on that.
Yeah.
Definitely drop acid, yes. Drink, no. I think is
Absolutely.
Oh, you could drink every time you're confused. No, you'd be
Yeah.
hammered then, wouldn't you? As well.
Exactly. There's literally no scenario in which
Add
you
to
would
the
be.
confusion
Yeah.
as well.
There's no scenario in which you would be absolutely hammered by at least the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drink every time you laugh.
Oh, there we go.
That'll be barren.
That'd be a dry day, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And the last one I had, and again you would be very, very drunk, is drink every time you spot a scene that's been shamelessly nicked or parodied by another film.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
But you need to pause it and go.
That's
Blah, blah,
that.
blah, that's the film, and then drink.
Yeah.
Watch the other film in full
Yes.
and then drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you couldn't just be there like if you were sitting with someone going, right, I'm playing this drinking game where every time I spot a reference, we're going to do a shot.
Yeah.
But you're there just shotting yourself because you're really good with films and they don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Why are you drinking so much? Stop drinking. You've got a problem.
But I mean, Star Wars, especially in New Hope, a lot of the shots of the ships I thought were just lifted directly out. It was obviously really heavy-handed influence there. Alien, obviously.
Alien, yeah.
Big Alien. Wall-E, there was a lot of references there.
Yeah.
I think any film set in space, like the Interstellar, The Martian,
Moon.
there's definitely Moon. Yeah, they're all there. So yeah, very obviously very influential. So yeah. That all the drinking games?
That's pretty much it, yeah.
Cool. Should we take a little pause to talk about Patreon?
Yeah, I thought you were going to do
Plug
that.
our Patreon. Yes. So yeah, we are now available on Patreon, beyondtheboxset.com/Patreon. If you enjoyed the show and want to show us some extra special support.
Or patreon.com/Beyond the Box Set.
Or did I do it the wrong way around?
But they both work.
Really? Oh, that's handy. I didn't know that. Okay.
I do a good job.
Yeah, good work, Harry. So yes, we are on Patreon now. So if you do like the show and want to show us some support, we have a pay-as-you-feel tiered system. So you can pay as much or as little as you like on a monthly basis, and you get access to all of our exclusive bonus content.
Just pay whatever you think we're worth.
Indeed, yes.
Can I do you a quiz?
Sure.
Oh,
If I was to pledge $15,000,
we would not refund it.
yeah, well done. $100 or more?
We would.
Does that pay for all our beer and...
No, if somebody donates that
Somebody
much,
donates that,
what
what do we
do we
do?
put for that one?
These are monthly things, aren't they? These are monthly
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
subscriptions. I Patreon a couple of people. Is it working for you out of interest?
Yeah, we've got a few subscribers. Yeah,
Yeah. That's
it's-
nice.
Yeah, it's
just
doing
a,
well.
yeah,
We need
just
to
a
do
nice
that.
way to cover our costs.
Yeah,
stay
if
cost
you
neutral.
get pizzas
invest in
and
new
beers in when you're recording and stuff like
Exactly,
that.
yeah.
Do you reckon $15,000 a month would cover your costs?
Maybe.
Well, I mean, to be fair, actually, if we did start earning $15,000 a month, we'd be doing a shit lot. So we'd find a way through it.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you'd manage.
Just out of interest, $100 or more, you might refund the money because surely you made a mistake.
Yes.
We actually won't, but
But yeah, so on Patreon, we've got a little bonus show where we review current movies, movies in the cinema, called Beyond the Box Set, which I think our last episode currently is Black Panther.
yes. We also, if you support us, you can choose a film for us to cover on a future episode. And if you want to come and join us, you're welcome to join us.
As long as it has no sequels.
no sequels, yeah.
Looking at you two.
Yeah.
What else
Like
do
the
we-
one we chose.
Yes.
Perfect.
What else do we offer, Harry? What are other perks?
You can become a character in one of our sequel ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Just give us your name and give us any details you want to give about yourself, and we'll write you into a story somehow.
And we will also, if you have anything you want to plug, be it a podcast, a business, or just your personal brand, or someone you like, something you like, we will give you a 30-second ad slot on the show as well, once a month.
Yeah, so just go to patreon.com/beyondtheboxset.
Yes.
Lovely.
And back to the show.
Okay, so time for some sequels.
Great.
Do you guys want to go first, or do you want us to go first?
Don't mind. Happy to.
Easy.
Do you guys want to go first?
So is this the sequel now to 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Yes.
Or whatever you come up with.
I'll
yeah.
go first with my idea.
Go on.
My original idea for it was 2015, more of a Space Odyssey, where he's a really bored teenager floating outside of Earth. Just going, I'm a teenager and I'm really bored. Like, it's been 15 years. He just gets really angry.
Just wanking all the time.
Yeah, just wanking on Earth. That's what he's doing.
Causing all kind of ecological crises.
Yeah, exactly.
Using clouds as tissues.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's just really messy. And there's lots of space junk all around. Yeah, that was my first idea. That was the one that first sprang to my head.
Weren't we both talking about this? Because I'm claiming it as my idea as well. But you know, like Hal's a bit like a teenager anyway, so I think this would sort of fit in. You know,
Hal's dead.
No,
Actually, he's not.
but the teenager, the star baby who is now a teenager, finds Hal in a development site like Jumanji, right, and then fixes Hal by pushing all those little things back in somehow, and reversing the explosions. So I think this could work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, as the star baby as a teenager.
Like kind of an American Pie kind of vibe, maybe. Or...
Yeah, but the teenager would go around the universe and be the thing that is developing lesser species elsewhere in the universe, you see. So, you know, the monolith did that for the old humans there, right? So the teenager would go about with... so 50 years old, this film, so way ahead of its time, because it had this thing that they looked at it and couldn't comprehend this monolith, right? So in the sequel, the teenager just goes to these other planets where you've got these early forms of life and shows them their Apple Watch.
Oh, okay, wow.
Well, it just goes, look at that.
Just goes,
You
look
can't
at
yonder because
that.
you're bacteria. You can't just look at
And the
that.
bacteria will be like, "Nyum, nyum, nyum,
Stupid
nyum,
bacteria."
what's that? And the bacteria would touch it and it would impart all its information, like what the weather's going to be like tomorrow.
Okay.
I had 3 other sequel ideas that
Sure.
would run in concurrency, a bit like they're making a billion Star Wars films. So what they're going to do is they're going to creatively bankrupt Star Wars, and everyone's going to be really fed up with it. Is so the 3 acts of 2001, but both extrapolated. So you've got like 2001: Space Odyssey, more monkeys, where it's just monkeys. Then you've got 2001: Space Odyssey, like more space, I don't know what you call it, where it's just all set in space and really dull.
Spaceballs.
Yeah, and then 2001: Space Odyssey, the weird coloured bit, where it was like 4 hours of the weird shit he was doing with the colours. But there would be 3 strands, and maybe they could each have their own spin-off. So creating an expanded universe, no pun intended.
Oh, wow, okay.
So the apes would just be like, you know, dicking around, being apes.
Maybe
for
they
3 hours.
Maybe they would form some sort of rudimentary democracy.
I was going to say maybe make it a TV show and put them in a situation like we have crossed things over with Orange is the New Black. So what about put the apes in prison?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is all part of the 2001 Expanded Universe TM copyright. Paul Dunphy 2018. And then we'd have mugs. Merchandising opportunities are huge.
Yeah.
You know, and TV shows, cartoons, lunchboxes.
So it would be a film about the planet on which the apes live.
Yeah, but don't forget the other 2 strands.
The planet of the apes, if you will.
Yeah.
And then, but don't forget
Great idea.
the other 2 strands as well, though, which is more space, which is just them going, all right, John, all right, Steve, you going over to Halcyon 79 tonight? Nah, I'm going to stay in and have a space wank. And then the other one, which
And I
is
don't like their chips.
yeah, and then the other one is just like fucking like colours. Sorry, just colours. Like, but 3 hours of that, just like.
But
absolute
three
balls
hours
tripping.
of just colours would probably get you some Arts Council funding
Oh, yeah.
and distribution around independence around the country.
Yeah.
So that's probably the one that's got legs, despite the fact it not having the apes in and not physically having legs.
I'm sorry, but I just think they're all strong in their own right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good ideas.
Thanks.
Very good.
Cool.
You gonna make it or what?
Well,
Is that
we'll do our best if the
The funding comes
again
through.
if that 15,000 a month if you could guys.
If
Yeah.
you're going to pledge that right now, we'll
Yeah.
put at least 50% of it back into the production of this movie, this franchise.
It's
Yeah,
only
would you-
10% of our BBC fee, isn't it?
Yeah,
So-
exactly. And you've got to buy the rights first as well.
True,
presumably
yeah, I'm
from
sure
someone.
they're going cheap. It's fine. Cool. So, should we do ours?
Yeah, well, I guess we have to.
I guess.
How are you going to follow that?
Yeah, mic drop. Yeah. So our one, we kind of we talked on earlier in the show about how this film has influenced a lot of the sci-fi films that came after it. So a lot of people referenced it, parodied it, kind of pastiched it, and so we kind of thought we would kind of go back and create a sequel that kind of ties a few of those threads together. It always pays homage to the original film and some of the films that it's influenced. So we've called it 2051: A Space Odyssey. And,
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to start, Harry? Or
Okay. The year 2051, and the mysterious disappearance of the Discovery 1 remains unsolved. After years of research and many failed attempts, a recon team has been assembled to travel to Jupiter to recover the ship and finally find out what happened.
Mhm.
The Discovery 7 is crewed by a crack team headed by ship's captain Julia Abrams, played by Meryl Streep.
it's JJ for short.
Yeah, good reference. I got that. Yeah,
Mhm.
nice. Yeah.
There's 2 references in there, actually. So, for casting for this, we've got a crew of 7 or 8 people, and we had to think about what set cast could do it, and I had a brainwave. Let's just get lots of people from the Oscars this year.
It's a real high-end, expensive cast, this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, second person we cast is the first officer, Maeve O'Halloran, played by Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
And-
Good, strong Irish name as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Irish they named her twice.
And we're hoping that you could help us with some of the names for the rest of them.
Okay. Yeah.
So we've got a science officer played by Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need a name then for
Yeah,
Gary?
character, for the
if Gary
character.
Oldman plays the science
I
officer.
think you need something that refers that it's Gary Oldman, but pays homage to him.
Yeah.
But this is sort of spacey time, and you need like a costume that represents. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm going to say Gary Newman at the end of it.
Sure. Oh,
Instead of
Gary Oldman, Gary Newman.
Gary Newman.
Right. Dr.
Yeah.
Gary Newman.
Dr. Gary Newman. Esquire.
Dr. Gary Newman.
Oh, I was writing that down.
Yes, right, okay. Chief Medical Officer, played by Sally Hawkins from The Shape of Water.
Yeah. Good name for a doctor.
Chief Medical Officer.
Mm.
Bonesaw, like Dr. Gloria Bonesaw.
Gloria Bonesaw. Wow.
Gloria Bonesaw.
That does sound like an adult movie actress.
It does, yeah.
Exactly, but
Well, she
she's
doesn't strike me as.
no, but
So is that double-barreled? Bone saw?
no, it's one word.
Okay, one word.
And do you mean like a sore bone, or like someone who saws?
Yeah, bonesaw. What doctors used to saw bones.
Oh right, yeah, okay,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Not like oh god, my bone is really sore today. I've got a bone sore.
That's a boner. That's something entirely different. They're thinking of something else. That's the 15-year-old again.
Oy. Okay, ship's counsellor Frances McDormand from 3 Billboards.
Yeah, she could be. She needs sort of like a really hick Minnesotan name, so we can hark back to her Fargo times.
Yeah, okay. Like what? Like Billy Jane.
It would definitely be a bit trailer.
Right.
It would be double-barreled in the surname, and Billy would be involved, and Joe somewhere as well. Billy Joe.
Billy Joe Sourpuss. 'Cause she's
Billy
got
Joe
quite
Sourpuss.
She's got quite a serious face.
What's her job?
She's the
Ship's counsellor.
ship's counselor.
Ship's
She's the
counsellor.
Deanna Choi figure.
And that's the one who could read the minds in Star Trek
Yeah.
Next Generation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because it'd be really funny because obviously in Star Trek: The Next Generation, Deanna Choi is kind of the ship's counselor, who's kind of always very empathetic. Empathetic is the word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Who's-
banging Patrick Stewart's
sympath-
character.
and very sympathetic. So I thought Frances McDormand just being the opposite of that, just being like, get over it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Billy Joe Sourpuss then.
Billy Joe Sourpuss. Yeah.
Lovely. Navigation Officer Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out.
Oh, I love him.
He.
Tea leaf.
Tea Leaf.
Navigation
Still his
Officer
greatest
Tea
role.
Leaf.
Still his greatest role.
Yeah.
Tea Leaf. Okay, and the obligatory red shirt is the ensign, played by Timothy Chalamet from Call Me By Your Name.
Right. Ooh.
Who's this now?
Timothy Chalamet from. Have you seen Call Me By Your Name?
No.
With Army Hammer? With a peach? And
No.
Yes.
No?
No, never seen
Ah,
it.
you've missed out.
Literally don't know who
Actually,
you're talking about.
you've missed out on one scene. The rest of the film is just not worth it.
Right, okay.
he's,
What's his job?
He's the obligatory red shirt. So he's Ensign Timothy Chalamet.
Right.
So he's kind of young. He's been in a few.
He
films.
should have one. Because he's so young, he should just have either refer to himself as a symbol or one word.
Oh yeah.
Like Prince
Yeah.
or Bruce Forsyth, one word.
What about one word that refers to a symbol? Like he's called
Square.
Peach.
like hectagon. What do you say?
Peach.
Peach.
Sounds that's the princess from Mario.
Yeah. She's coming later. It's fine.
Parallelogram.
Parallelogram.
Rhombus.
Rhombus. Rhombus is
Ensign
good.
Rhombus. Ensign Rhombus.
Yeah.
Ensign
I
Rhombus.
like
That
it.
works.
Yeah, that sounds like
Bosh.
a space name.
Ensign Rhombus. All right, great.
Most of those names are completely irrelevant to the plot. But
Yeah.
filler there, though.
So much effort.
I know, yeah. So the crew travels to Jupiter, where obviously the original film sort of ended, and where the ship was last seen, according to, the people on Earth. So they travel to Jupiter and find the ship is actually floating in orbit around Jupiter, and it appears to be abandoned. Scans indicate no signs of life. They form a boarding party and explore the ship. Now, for very unprofessional reasons, everyone on this ship is actually in a couple. We've got Meryl.
Well, it's taken a long time to get there, hasn't it?
Well,
So
exactly. You got to do confined space. It's like Big Brother. Put people in confined space. They're going to start rotting. So
romance in the workplace.
Or Moonraker, because that happens in Moonraker as well, 2x2.
Yeah.
It's a new race.
So Captain Abrams is dating Tea Leaf, the Daniel Kaluuya character. What did we say Sally Hawkins was called?
Wait, I've lost Sally Hawkins. Oh, yeah, Dr. Gloria Bonesaw.
Dr. Bonesaw is dating
Billy Joe Salpus.
Billy Joe Salpus, yeah.
Nice,
They're a nice couple. And Maeve O'Halloran, she's engaged to
Ensign Rhombus.
Yes. And poor old Gary Oldman's just a bit lonely. What do we say?
Dr. Gary Newman Esquire.
Gary Newman Esquire.
But he's got some great dance moves.
Yes.
And some great synths.
He won't be lonely for long.
Indeed, yeah. His car. He'll make an electric friend, it'll be fine.
Yeah, very good.
So the ship appears to be abandoned, so they split into their respective couplings to explore the ship. So while headed to the ship's canteen, I'll refer to them by their real names now, Timothée Chalamet and Saoirse Ronan. Timothy says, I wonder if they've got any peaches on this ship. This leads to a furious argument about his unusual sexual proclivities, which he's not on board with.
Yeah.
In Call Me By Your Name, he fucks a peach. It's the best scene.
Right.
And then Armie Hammer threatens to eat it. And it's very romantic.
Right.
It's romantic, but at the same time, it's like, no, don't do it. No.
I'll just get on my Virgin app here, add this to my...
To watch list, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not with the kids,
Yeah.
Anyway, so those two end
The
up...
app won't work anyway, don't worry about it.
So the two end up getting separated.
While exploring the larder for his beloved peaches, Timothy discovers some mysterious large egg-like objects on the floor. He gets in close to have a look with a look of arousal on his face, and one of the eggs bursts open and we cut to black.
Oh, no.
For 20 minutes.
Yes, 20 minutes.
With just the sound of...
While Vivaldi just plays quietly.
Yeah. Do we need to update that music, or are we staying with
What's
something?
what's the modern equivalent of classical?
Stormzy.
Yeah, it should just
Yes,
be
Stormzy.
definitely.
After 20 minutes of Stormzy, Maeve comes back to look for him and finds him with just a weird alien thing on his face, just like holding on his head.
God.
So she rushes him to the medical bay where Dr.
Bonesaw.
Dr. Bonesaw.
Dr. Gloria Bonesaw,
Yep.
Sally Hawkins. She revives him by caressing his face with a wet fish, as is her unorthodox method. I'm going to call it a facehugger now. I'm sure we all know what this is.
Yes, yeah.
Godfather Part 1.
Yes.
Yeah. The facehugger is removed and Timothy seems okay. However, he's a bit shaken by his experience and goes to see the counsellor, whatever her name was, Billy Joe Salpus.
Billy Joe Salpus.
Yep.
He goes to see the counsellor where Frances McDormand, being Frances McDormand, just swears at him and tells him to get over it.
Yeah.
So later that evening, they're all kind of debriefing, and Timothy, what did we call it? Ensign Rhombus. Ensign Rhombus?
Yeah.
And Ensign Rhombus becomes violently ill, collapsing to the ground in convulsions, and to the horror of the rest of the crew, and I'm sure the surprise to all of you guys, an alien bursts out of his chest and scampers away.
You're
So-
supposed to be more sort of shocked.
What's that from? Is that a reference to something?
It may be referencing some obscure sci-fi.
Wizard of Oz.
Does the alien say anything?
Hiya, babes. Yes.
Hey, look, tell you what, I've dead heart in there. Well, I'll get out, run away.
An alien with the voice of Alan Carr. Yeah. So Captain Abrams orders them to split into pairs again and search the ship for this rogue alien. Once again, they split into their respective relationships, but now that Ensign Rhombus is dead, Maeve is paired with Gary Oldman, and they conduct a thorough search of the ship. While searching, they actually come upon a strange man hiding in a containment unit. He introduces himself as David, and he claims to be the son of the original Dr. David Bowman from the first film, 2001. And he's going to be played by Michael Fassbender.
Of course he is.
Of course he is. So the story he tells is that once they got to Jupiter, the original crew, Hal, the ship's computer, malfunctioned, and they were forced to shut it down. But that left them stranded because Hal ran the whole ship. So they were stranded orbiting Jupiter, and they just had to survive, and that's how he was born. One of the science officers who was in deep freeze, let's say, was a woman. I don't know if it ever specified. So he was born of that relationship, and they were kind of eking out a survival there. And then at some point, one of these aliens got on board the ship, started killing everyone off. He is the last survivor.
As the rest of the crew are exploring the ship, they find that the doors are opening and closing seemingly at random, which forces everybody into the same direction. where they all end up in the canteen, which is where Timothy found the eggs.
Yeah.
With the exception of Maeve and David, Michael Fassbender.
Maeve and Dave.
Maeve and Dave.
Yeah.
Once there, they suddenly hear a transmission over the speakers. It's Hal welcoming them to Discovery 1.
Ah, yeah.
I would love it if Hal did have the voice of Alan Carr now. I'm obsessed with that thought. So we're now going to get a flashback to some years earlier, the real story. Now, have you seen the film Alien Covenant?
Yeah.
Oh, you have. So, in that, Michael Fassbender plays a sexy, evil robot.
Version of David. It's not David.
Yeah, it is quite Hal-esque. So,
Yeah.
Alien Covenant, spoiler alert for Alien Covenant, it's not that great. At the end of the film, he betrays the human crew on board that iteration of the ship.
Yeah.
And just sails off into the unknown with his alien fetuses?
Yeah.
Embryos?
Yeah. Embryos, yeah.
With alien embryos with some kind of nefarious mission that is never quite clear. So in this flashback, we see he's doing that, and fresh from killing off another crew of idiots in the movie Alien Covenant, he discovers the Discovery 1 in orbit. The chronology may be a little bit fuzzy here. I'm not sure what the year is supposed to be in Alien, but we'll bypass it.
Okay.
So he discovers Discovery 1 in orbit, goes aboard, and reboots Hal, who he quickly falls in love with through the medium of tender fingering.
Tender fingering.
Yeah, he sticks his finger into the plug socket.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
we've all done that.
He can be because in the film Alien Covenant, my favourite scene that happened for no reason, but I loved it, was when there's two Michael Fassbenders, because there's two robots, and for some reason he's giving the other one a flute lesson.
Right.
And it's like there's a weird scene where they're talking about fingering, and it's
You
really
blow, I'll do the fingering.
Yeah, there's lots of weird sexual innuendos
Literally
there.
a line from the film.
It becomes a different film for 10 minutes. It's very
I'm so
strange.
confused. I don't think I've seen Alien Covenant.
Have you not? Have you seen Prometheus?
I've seen Prometheus. He's that character in that, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he's David in that. But he's not David in.
He's
Covenant.
David and Walter. There's two of them.
David
now.
and Walter. That's it.
Right,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Hold it like so. Nice and easy. Now compress your lips to create your embouchure. Enough for the tip of your little finger. And blow into the hole gently. Like so. Watch me. I'll do the fingering. Go on.
But basically, too long didn't read. Michael Fassbender is an evil, sexy robot. So it'll be the scene where he's putting all of Hal's files back in the way that the doctor was pulling them out, as he's putting them back in with one finger. Maybe it's just very erotic, and we get some sensual music playing. And
Maybe licking a finger. And
yeah,
putting it
exactly.
in.
It's
Lots of
going to be the
finger
hottest-
sucking.
And presumably Hal would start singing.
Yes, yeah. Hal can start singing some Barry White or something. You know?
Yeah. Well, because Hal's voice gets deeper as it regresses, right?
Yeah.
So presumably, as you improve Hal in the future as well, the voice just gets higher until he's a chipmunk.
I say we start at Barry White and it transitions into Prince. So as he's doing this, he's rebooting Hal and they fall in love. And Hal, already believing that AI are superior to humans, as we established in the film, he teams up with Dave, Michael Fassbender, to build an army of xenomorphs, using the search parties who have subsequently arrived to try and find out what happened to the ship as hosts. So this is why all the previous expeditions to kind of figure out what went wrong with the Discovery 1 mission have failed, because the crew have all been killed off by Hal and David and used as host bodies for the xenomorph army, which they are now building.
So cut back to the canteen, and Hal has locked everyone in there, apart from Maeve and Michael Fassbender, who are watching through a window. And all the eggs open, facehuggers fill the room, get everyone. Everyone's gone.
It's a massacre.
Yep.
Wow.
Oh.
Apart from Maeve and Dave.
Apart from Maeve and Dave.
So Maeve's watching through the window, horrified.
Right.
David turns to her, and she runs for her life to the escape pod. As she prepares to board, Fassbender gives chase, grabs her, and is about to kill her when Daniel Kaluuya's character runs into the room, once the facehugger has got off him, of course. Shoots Fassbender, blowing off both legs, screaming, "Get out! Get out!"
Very good.
Right reference. Yeah, good. Like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
To Maeve as he falls to the floor, convulsing, the xenomorph taking over his body. Maeve boards the escape pod successfully and attempts to navigate back to her own ship. However, the controls stop working, everything cuts to black, and the voice of Hal calmly says, "I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Maeve."
Credits roll. End
Very
of film.
good.
Oh, nice. Yeah, like
5
crossover.
days of silence.
Yes.
I thought I had a good idea for an extended universe with my three, but that's a crossover.
You
You've
guys
got-
have really thought that through.
Yeah,
That's why we were a bit late. So this is frantic last minute
I can only
brainstorming.
apologise
I know.
for our woolly one-line ideas.
Literally
What?
walking all the way over here.
Yours were mine. Yeah, yours were better. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Yours were mine. Yours are mine now.
Here's the mine now, Paul.
Yeah. We do often do kind of film crossovers as something of a crutch. Like, you know, there's no idea to be... Because there's not much narrative to this film, so it's hard to think of a direct kind of...
Crossover with Alien again.
Yeah, just bring in Alien, bring in Stranger Things, bring in The Truman Show. There's ones we have our crutches. But,
Yeah. We should have chosen another film, really, shouldn't we?
Yeah, well,
Can we start this again? Let's do Goodfellas, right?
We've got all night. Let's do them all.
Yeah. Good ladies.
Good ladies, yeah.
Yeah.
Has anyone actually seen 2010, the sequel?
No.
What is the plot of it?
I would hope that neither of you have seen it.
Oh, of course, because you didn't know it existed.
Yeah, no, but I'd like to now because it's got Roy Scheider in.
Yeah.
From Jaws?
Yeah. I used to love Jaws. I hate it, but I used to love that. He's like, I thought it was really cool, Roy Scheider.
Do you want to read the plot, or will that be a spoiler? Are you actually going to go and
I'm
watch
actually
it?
going to go and watch it
Right.
because I didn't realise it existed until
Can you
your
watch
tweet.
it? Can you watch it and let me know how it goes? Because if it's just full of long silences or long bits of music
No,
and
apparently it's
not
quite-
much talking, then
I
I'm
think
not in
it's-
for it.
yeah, no.
But if it's like a more modern space thing, like if it's like The Martian, then great, I'm sold. I'm in. I'll watch it.
I imagine it. I mean, it looks like I'd imagine it to be like a sort of a serious Cocoon.
I think I read something about it being like a much more normal film, like
Yeah.
sort of 100-minute.
It's not
Beginning,
Kubrick,
middle,
so
and
it's
end
not
sort
got
of
those
thing.
kind of...
Yeah.
It's a very different film, so... Yeah, I've not seen it, but I'm...
How long is it?
It's
Paul?
under 2 hours, 116 minutes.
Oh, thank God.
Still longer than it should be.
Yeah.
Because there are two
With dialogue, a cool 20.
Because there are two versions of 2001, aren't there? There's the
Yes.
the premiere apparently was 161 minutes, and the theatrical release was 142. Which, to be honest, by today's standards, 142 minutes isn't that long.
No.
That's
because
only
you've
a
got
fifth of one of Lord of the Rings, isn't
yeah,
it?
or exactly. But I mean, that's got an intermission in as well, isn't it? Which lots of films don't do.
Yeah.
Last intermission I saw, just as it sprung to mind, was watching Cliffhanger
Oh, wow.
in a cinema in Leyburn in the Yorkshire Dales.
And there was a literal cliffhanger,
They stopped the middle of the film.
and a literal and metaphorical cliffhanger. No, a literal and practical cliffhanger.
Yeah. Anyway, in this cinema, you walked through to get an ice cream, and then we went through this little door that you weren't supposed to go through. There's a big soft play centre, and nobody was in there. So we went wild for 10 minutes and came back, watched the rest of the film. I was 28.
I was thinking, so was that with your kids? Did you take your kids to see Cliffhanger? A little bit traumatising. But... So, yeah, I guess listener submissions?
Please.
Cool. So this is one of our favourite parts of the show, is when our listeners submit their own ideas for quick-fire sequel ideas for the film.
Great.
So here's a few of our favourites. Mike Carey said, "Look Who's Talking 2002, following the adventures of the baby from the end of 2001.
Yeah.
Yes.
Voiced by Bruce Willis, I guess. Or who would we give the voice of that baby?
Alan Carr.
Alan Carr, of course. Yeah, just all the voice roles.
Al
Carr.
Pacino
Al Pacino.
As a 2-year-old.
or Christopher Walken.
Maybe Stallone. Stallone is the voice of a baby. I can see that. He's
Oh,
halfway there.
No. I've forgotten his name. Guy who plays Darth Vader.
David Prowse.
James Earl Jones.
James Earl
Jones.
Jones. Sorry,
Wow, you went really geeky with that, John.
I did.
Yeah,
I
you
went
did.
with the physical.
The guy
Prowse.
whose body was Darth Vader.
That well-known voice actor, David Prowse.
I don't know why that came first. James is so much more famous.
Yeah.
Brian Hunt said 2018, A Space Jam Odyssey, starring Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Very good.
And the original basketball player from who's it? Michael Jordan in
Michael
Space
Jordan,
Jam?
yeah.
And him as well, or not?
Sure. I mean, these are just titles. But
You'd have to build a bigger space pods for him, wouldn't you? Because he's about 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
I think Michael Jordan would be too tall for your standard.
Which could be a good strapline for the
Space pod.
poster.
Go
We're
on.
going to need a bigger space
Need
pod.
a bigger space
Open brackets, because Michael Jordan is quite tall. Close brackets.
Yeah. Open triangular parentheses. He's a basketball player.
You don't need to just delete and backspacing. That's too much.
Imagine if he
Enter.
played the guy who gets killed in 2001 when he's repairing the piece of technology on the ship, and he's floating, and the escape pod has to kind of pick him up. Imagine if that was like a 7-foot man, so he's just like floating on that escape pod, like they just about to get his leg or something.
Yeah, bit of his ankle.
Yeah. Mike Carey said a prequel 2000 Millennium Rising, starring Will Smith.
Yeah, very
Nice.
good.
Captain Hygiene at CPT Hygiene on Twitter said 2001 to semicolon 2012. So, again, it really looks good on a poster.
Yeah.
It just looks like binary.
Bad Byron.
Yeah, bad binary,
Bad
yeah.
binary.
Since the original Space Odyssey, the Stargate/Fetal Transcendence trip has become Earth's most popular tourist attraction. But the Mayans were right. The massive influx of giant space babies throws Earth off its axis, inciting all manner of apocalyptic phenomena. Dave Bowman, the original space baby, may be the only hope for Earth's survival. But does a space 11-year-old have what it takes to save us all in time? It's directed by Roland Emmerich. Of the,
Oh, nice. Independence Day,
Nice.
with a score by David Arnold.
Yeah. See, now, I didn't think that the baby was giant. I just thought it was close to the camera.
Oh.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Am I
Yes.
wrong?
I never thought it was a giant baby.
I thought it was a giant baby.
I
bigger
just
than
thought it was a baby. I was
Cool
like, wait,
50-50
it
split
shouldn't
there.
be there. Shouldn't it be in a womb?
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Space is the womb?
It's the
The universe is
the
its
universe is the womb.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The universal
You can say anything about 2001, can't
Yeah, you sound philosophical.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's what it
we're the
really
womb.
means, man.
Just as long as you trail off. Yeah,
Yeah.
like me. Yeah, exactly. Maybe we're the aliens.
Yeah.
Humanity's the womb.
Maybe the Odyssey is inside all of us.
Oh, nice.
And learning is birth.
What? He's just dropped. Sorry. He's on his acid trip.
Julio from the Contrarians podcast at Ovnio says the Star Baby attacks Earth, causing massive destruction on an epic scale. Michael Bay's Cloverfield, 2001.
Nice.
And is that all of them? I think that's all of them. So, yeah. So thanks, guys. Those
Strong
are our
ones.
sequels for this week. Yeah,
Very
some
good.
Strong
ideas
ones
there.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have any sequel ideas for 2001: A Space Odyssey, or any other movies we've done in the past, please let us know. We are Beyond the Box Set. You can find us at beyondtheboxset.com. Our podcast is available on all good podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Stitcher, Acast, and Spotify. You can also find us on all forms of social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/beyondtheboxset.
Or beyondtheboxset.com/Patreon.
Yeah, because Harry's good with links. And you can also get some merch at TeePublic. Just search Beyond the Box Set or go to our website and follow the links. So, thank you guys, Larry and Paul. Thanks for coming.
Oh, no trouble at all.
Is there anything you'd like to plug while you're here?
You can find us at Larry and Paul, larryandpaul.com, twitter.com/Larry and Paul, facebook.com/Larry and Paul, youtube.com/Larry and Paul.
For anybody who doesn't know, what do you guys do?
That's a really good question.
Excellent question. We co-host a wildly successful 2-hour lunchtime program on BBC Radio Leeds on the Saturday lunchtime.
It's huge.
But we also are involved in a comedy show once a month at the Wardrobe. Look it up, called the Not So Late Show.
Mm-hmm.
And we do comedy videos as well, little sketches based around our lives as local radio presenters at the peak of the media triangle. And they're all on Facebook and YouTube as well.
Yeah, or larryandpaul.com.
Or larryandpaul.com.
Because I'm good at links as well.
Yeah, because you bought that domain, didn't you?
I did buy that domain.
Nicely done. Yeah.
Well done. I've heard you got some good guests coming on.
Fantastic guests. We've got Beyond the Box Set podcast.
Who are they?
Coming on.
They sound awful.
Some guys
Couple
who
of
had the
pricks.
right idea to do online content instead of
Radio is-
abandoning it to go to radio.
Radio is dead.
Yeah. That's our career. Yeah, they're coming on. And listen, if anybody who's listening to this and wants to get in touch with us and wants to come on the show to talk about what they're doing, because we have a segment of the show put aside for people who are doing interesting things like you guys are, then just get in touch. Larry and Paul at bbc.co.uk would be our email address, if you don't mind me giving that out. I already have.
Absolutely fine.
Cool. So I believe next week, Harry, we've got some time to ourselves again.
God,
Finally. No guests. We've had so many guests recently.
We've had 3 podcast crossovers in a row now.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a lot of work.
We had to go to Glasgow for one of them. It was a nightmare.
Did you?
Barely got
Yeah.
it live.
Well done.
Oh,
But your Patreon stuff paid for that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
15,000 a month.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're jet setting. Last week Paisley. Next week LA.
Where is next week? Heckmondwike.
Headman Wake. Yeah. Well,
So that was a lie, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, next week is my flat because it's just the 2 of us. So, and Harry, it's your choice. So, what film are you subjecting me to next week?
Well, I've been waiting for this one for a while, actually. So, John, do you like questionable makeup?
You know I do.
Do you like wigs?
You know, I could take or leave them.
Do you like 2 very, very different actors playing the same part?
Ooh, what is it? I'm excited.
Do you like time travel?
Sometimes. How many questions have
That's it. We're doing a film called Looper.
Looper? Oh, I've not seen that.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, is that Bruce Willis and
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's a good film. We
It's a
saw
really
that.
good film.
We
yeah,
saw that
I really
film.
liked it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Have you
excited
seen
for
it?
that.
You'll
I've
enjoy
not,
watching
no.
it.
Yeah, there is a lot to talk about in this film.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Who directed Looper?
Yeah,
I don't know, actually.
it's someone good. It's someone good. I looked this up.
It's more upbeat than Space Odyssey 2001 as well. Which I have to say, you've done very well to keep this show entertaining, talking about
Yeah.
a film with no dialogue.
It's Rian Johnson, the Star Wars guy.
Oh,
is
yes,
it?
that's it. Of course. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm on board for this.
Mm-hmm.
So, thanks again, Larry and Paul, for joining us.
Pleasure.
And join us next week for Looper.
Right.
Okay, so see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.